Let's see. Hello. Let's see. It is May 14th, 2011, and I'm going to do my first video of, well, on radio repair. And actually, I have two radios I'm working on right now, and one of them is a 1933 Crosley. I already have the radio apart. Let me turn Ozzy down here for a minute. Sorry, Ozzy. And you can see the radio's all in pieces. This one is going to be very difficult. This is a very old radio. The whole insides of the chassis are blackened with dust, and to try to figure out what components are what is going to be very difficult unto itself. So I'll just have to replace the capacitors. First thing we do with any radio like this is we replace electrolytic capacitors, which on this radio, the original electrolytic capacitors in this big can here. These of course are all tubes. They have shields on them. Some of the tubes don't have shields. This is a transformer. This here is the tuner. It is also a capacitor, but the tuner is fine. Inside this, it's even difficult to see what components are what. Someone has already replaced one electrolytic here earlier, and I'm probably going to replace that again. And then there's other components here I'm going to have to try to deal with. So first it's the electrolytic capacitor, or whatever is hooked up to that big can I showed you earlier. And then it's going to be the regular paper capacitors, which are almost impossible to see, but they're the small cylinders that are inside here. These other devices here are probably intermediate frequency transformers for the radio itself. They used to put them in cans, and so I'll have to replace those. That's about it for this device. And of course, when I do this, I pull up the schematic. This one's particularly tough because the schematic was created at a time when it was done by hand, and it's sometimes difficult to see what components are what. But anyway, I have a parts list and I have a schematic, so I have something to work from. The case is in pretty good shape, but in any event, what I'm going to do with this one, I'm probably going to strip it, because if someone has basically just tried to stain over it and put a coating of something on it, and it doesn't look very good. So I'm going to strip it completely. Of course, take the speaker cloth out of it, out of the inside. Take off the hardware, all the hardware, strip it with stripper, take several times of stripping with steel wool. When that is completely cleaned off, then I'll stain it, probably let it sit for a day or so, and then put multiple coats of polyurethane on it. Typically, I'll put 5 to 7 coats of polyurethane, letting each dry overnight, and using very fine steel wool in between to get off any of the bumps that are left. So that's this radio. We're going to go on to another one.
Yeah.
Hello. Again. This time I'm going to be showing you another. This is actually a radio phonograph. This one Ginny purchased. It is a 1941 Coronado. Actually, it's a very nice piece. It has some inlaid wood, some really nice features here, original knobs, and the inside. And the only things not original on this are the tone arm and of course, the line cord, which I'll be replacing. Have not tried plugging this in yet, but I probably will, and power it up with a power stat. That's this device over here, and the reason I do that is because I can slowly turn up the voltage and make sure nothing starts burning and smoking inside, and that the tubes start to light up and everything looks normal. That way you don't immediately fry something, and you can do that. In this particular case, I will be taking out the insides. There's 4 screws down here. Take the knobs off the front. I'll pull this out. Clean it up. Actually, this looks very good. It's good shape. I'll probably just first replace the electrolytic capacitors. I may replace some of the paper capacitors, and I'll come back on the camera to show you when the chassis is out of this. This particular piece, when it comes to the finishing, of course, once again, I'll take off all the hardware, the knobs, of course, this plastic face, the speaker cloth, the insides. Actually, I'll probably take the turntable off. And then, because this piece is still in pretty good shape the way it is, and because I don't want to affect the beauty of some of this wood, I am merely going to clean this up a little bit first, probably with just a damp cloth with soapy water on it, let that dry. Then I will stain it, let it dry for overnight, and then put probably, again, 5 to 7 coats of polyurethane on it. After that point, I'll be doing that separately from restoring the electronics inside. When all that's complete, I'll put it back together, and hopefully it'll work. So you see it now. It's a nice piece. It will look even better when I get it finished. So that's that one. In fact, since we're on this topic, I'll be right back. Show you a piece that I refinished. This one is partially disassembled at this point. Some of the knobs are off, but you can see how the coat of polyurethane, how it looks. This piece was in particularly did not look very good. I completely refinished this. It's really pretty. I'm still working on the radio itself. This is an old one. This is a 1929. A similar situation as this radio here, in terms of this Crosley, in terms of trying to get very, very old components to work. So we'll leave it at that for now. Hello, we're back. What I've done here, this is the Coronado radio phonograph, and I plugged it into the power stat, slowly powered it up. Of course, you can't see really in here, but the tubes are lit up. The radio is working. I am lucky on this one. Okay, the radio is working, and that's a really good sign, because now I know my repair job will be easier. I still have to go in though and change the capacitors, because they're worn out at this point. The turntable also seems to work. Of course, you can't get it going now. It was going before. Interesting. Well, here it goes. I think it's trying to go. Anyway, it's interesting. It was going before. Here we go. You can tell by the sound, it probably needs some kind of cleanup and lubrication. But it is working, which is a very good sign. You can also hear the hum from the amp. I take this off. Oh yes, the amp's working very well. I flick the needle, you can hear it. It's working well. So we got a really good working piece here. Electronically, it won't take too much work, I don't think, to fix it up. Make sure it's going to keep working for a long time. We'll stop it. Well, I've taken this Coronado. Managed to get the chassis out of it. It was a little bit tricky. I had to do some twisties and turnies, and there was a lot of knobs and things I had to take off. But here's the interior of the chassis, and actually, it's in pretty good shape. See if I can stand this up without it falling over. Within here are the paper capacitors, like these. Okay. That one, this one, they're not bad, but I'm going to replace them. They don't look too bad. I've seen worse, but they're worth replacing. On this particular unit, the electrolytic capacitor is down here, where it actually comes through the chassis. And if you see it from the top, it is this black can. The capacitors are within this that I need to replace. Typically what I'll do with these is just disconnect the wires from the bottom of this capacitor. The newer capacitors are a lot smaller and you can actually fit them within the chassis itself. The pilot light works. Everything seems to work in this unit. Very nice. Should be a relatively easy fix. The interior of the phonograph, there's the motor. We're looking through. We can see where the tone arm comes down in. That's that wire here that's dangling. And we're going to basically, pretty much, I'm going to take off that speaker grill in the front there, but then I can start the refinishing. I may take off the tone arm as well, just so I can do some refinishing inside here without affecting it. And then I'm going to paint the tone arm. It's currently white. It is a replacement tone arm. I'm going to paint it a brown color to make it look more authentic. I'm also going to replace this, as I said, this line cord with probably a brown line cord. I'm sure I have one somewhere. So that's about it for now, and I will show you some more things about this later. Okay, I've come back for a minute. What has happened here is I've taken this Coronado phonograph radio completely apart. I have cleaned it and put a coat of stain on it, top and bottom. You notice all hardware is off. I even took the motor out, tone arm, everything else. It's all out. It's all stained. What I'm going to do now, I'm letting the stain soak in for a few minutes. Then I'm going to wipe off the excess. And then let that dry overnight, and I'll start to polyurethane it. Over here on my other workbench, of course there's a lot of other stuff here, but I have painted the tone arm brown color, which pretty well matches the color of tone arms of that era. I'm also working on the phonograph motor itself. I've used some material here. This is a rubber renewal material to